Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You've Got to Be Sha Tin me. I had to figure out what what day we were recording on here because we've talked about this. There was gonna be some kind of weirdness with the schedule, and we were hoping we were gonna be, we're doing a live show, but then a Thursday night, Matt, I don't think is going to work for us. Since I don't know, we actually have jobs,
Yeah,
and
they don't give us off for Lunar New Year, unfortunately. So
yeah. So but it's funny. So because today, at least when we're recording this um, on Wednesday night, it is Lunar New Year here. I think because my wife was sick during actual New Year's. She was sick during the entire holiday. She was sick on Christmas Day, basically until New Year's, and then we she had to babysit for her brother and sister-in-law for a night, and then got sick immediately after that, right after the holidays. So she's literally she was basically sick for like 2-3 weeks during the holidays, and so I bought a couple of nice bottles of wine and we were going to have them for New Year's. And so tonight, she's like, by the way, I put those nice bottles of wine in the fridge. We're going to have them for Lunar New Year because I need a redo.
there you
So we
go.
had so we had a nice little bottle of champagne. And then finishing a little
Look
vino
at
tinto
that.
here, a little
Gong
red wine.
Gong Hei Fa Choi. There it is.
Exactly. Right. So, yeah, it's, getting over illnesses, getting the Lunar New Year here, and so obviously we have a Thursday night card for us, Thursday night into Friday. So getting this out hopefully a little bit early, hopefully on time for all you handicappers out there to take a look at this card. I thought it was a good card. I thought the late pick three that we're going to look at was interesting. I probably landed on Zach in every race because I'm a sucker, but I think there's one race where I'm kind of against him, but might be too big of a wuss to be completely against. I don't know. We'll look at it, but um, what did you think of this late pick three?
I thought it was decent. I mean, look, it's interesting, right? I think the Lunar New Year card, the Lucky Start, as they refer to it over there, is always a pretty good card, top to bottom. I don't know if you noticed, there's some interesting jockeys that are present
Mm-hmm.
for the card. So I
Leon's
think,
in town.
yeah, Barcelona's here.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Shin might be in town as well. Yeah, no, it makes it a little more interesting, right? I mean, be a little more interesting if J Mac was here, but you can say that about anything. He's lighting it up overseas. So yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a good card. I think it's an interesting set of races, and I think it could pay. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. We had. I thought they were interesting races. Um, I looked at some of the earlier races, and I didn't. I mean, I quickly looked at the other races and didn't really see any spot plays that popped out at me right away. But there's one that's a little bit interesting, and then of course I brought it up to you, and you're like, I literally have a note never to bet this, so good luck to you. So we'll see.
Sometimes
We'll
that's
see.
really
Hey,
good, right? You
I, I,
you be racking up beers against me if you really want. So
I mean,
you're
yeah. I mean, it's
shipping
just
you a
like,
keg.
yeah. I'll just you'll be like, hey, like, I'm just gonna Venmo you, $100. You can just buy a keg of whatever you want, like, but
This would
yeah.
be curated selection. Come on, I'd never stoop to Venmoing you this. Beer is
Yeah.
serious, serious
Yeah,
talk.
beer is serious business, and you have access to stuff I don't have access to. I have access to stuff you don't have access to, and that's a lot of the
The
fun
fun
of
of
it.
it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like when actually, and that reminds me, I got to buy my ticket. So there's a brewery uh, that's doing like a Mexican. It's a Mexican inspired brewery, right? It was owned by. It used to be owned by a chef named Rick Bayless, very famous chef
Okay.
here in Chicago. Um, he immersed himself in Mexico, and he has one of the few Michelin star Mexican restaurants in the country.
He has like a
Um,
PBS show too, right?
yeah,
I think.
yeah,
Yeah. All
Mexico
right.
one plate at a time. And,
Yep.
and
Yep.
I'll be honest with you, it was funny. I was talking to a coworker, And actually, last Saturday, I went to one of his restaurants called Bar Sotano, which is in like it's in the basement of Frontera Grill, which is like his flagship um, casual dining place. Um, and we went, and I was talking to my coworker, and I was telling him, I was like, "Oh," and he's like, "Oh, Rick Bailey." He's like, "Yeah, my dad loves Frontera Grill." He's like, "I know it's not authentic." I'm like, "Look, the guy's white. I understand, but I'm gonna tell you right now. I sat down at one of his restaurants. I took a bite out of something. I turned to my wife and I said, 'This tastes like my mom's cooking.'" I'm like, I don't know how much more authentic you can get. That's pretty damn close for me. So if you want to call it authentic, I mean, it's pretty good. And like there's other places. There's adjacent places like um, in Vegas. There's a place that we go to pretty often called Border Grill. The ladies who own it used to have a TV show. They were called Two Hot Tamales. I forget what their names are now, but they had a TV show. I think it's Mary Sue Milliken and Susan Feniger. I think are the names of the chefs. But I brought my parents there. My dad was still alive, and I brought my mom. So we brought both of them, and we ate their unlimited small plates brunch. Back then, it was a little bit more reasonable. I think it's like 50, $60 a person now. It used to be like 29.99 or something, and then you could add on unlimited mimosas for like another $20. But they brought out this little tamale, this little corn tamale, and my mom took one bite of it, and she's like, "This tastes like what my grandma used to make when she was a kid." And this place doesn't like say, "Hey, this is authentic Mexican," right? They say like they're Mexicans, but and my
Yeah.
my mom's tasting it. She's like, "This literally tastes like my grandmother's cooking," right? So there's actually a really funny thing. Authenticity is really really funny thing. I actually did a presentation on it at some leadership conference thing I did too, but um David Chang you know always talks about like he has like this like fun stuff, like fun thing about like authenticity and like how like is it really important or whatever. Anyways, we went down a really big rabbit hole, like we can go crazy, but I had dinner at this place. It was freaking really cool. I posted pictures in the Discord, and it was really good. But um, anyways, all that to say that his brewery makes really good tacos and really good beer. They're having an event on Saturday that we're going to be going to. Um, he no longer owns the brewery. He started kind of like divesting himself from stuff just
Yep.
because he's getting older, and I think he just like doesn't want to. He didn't want to get too big, and like his partner wanted to grow, he didn't, and so he just bought him out. But they still make really good beer. They still make really great tacos. It's I took Caleb and our friend Steve there when they were in town, and they loved it. But yeah, we're going there for beers. And they're having the Mexican market, and my wife loves markets, so we're gonna go there. We're gonna go to Revolution, pick up my last allotment of beer I have from them, and for stout season, and then yeah, we'll probably come back home drunk on the train with just a ton more beer. And I have not forgotten about the beer you owe me, so I look
I have
forward
not
to.
either. Don't worry. It's,
I look
um,
forward because I'm be honest, even if you get a beer bet over me, I still
no,
expect you to send me
it's
beer,
still
and I'm
one
going to
for
send you
one.
beer.
Yeah,
We're not
no,
we're not
there's
washing it
no,
out,
yeah, no, there's no cutting it even. No, absolutely not. So yes,
But
no, I know I owe you, and I will do that. But I'm still waiting. I'm waiting for a decent release or something I can get you. So
it's just so funny though, right? Remember, I mean, I think you might have sent me this meme where it was it was the Vince McMahon meme, right? Where he's like crying and he's like, you know, and it's like someone like saying like, "Hey Dad, can you tell me about craft beer in 2010?" Right?
yeah,
And then it was like just like a montage of like all these people standing in line and all this stuff. And yeah, it's really funny. Just like I still love beer. Um, like I said, I do that um that season pass that Revolution does. I go for the Goose Island event every year. But honestly, that's it. It used to be I probably went to about like 5 or 6 events, and now it's down to like one plus the times I go to Revolution. But I still like going to like my board game group. we'll go to the local brewery sometimes and just be like, hey, let's just meet up here and bring a board game and you know have 5 or 6 beers over a course of like 8 hours and just play a couple games. Um, but yeah, it's just really funny. It certain places, right? Like you were able to get stuff out here. Me personally, like when I'm going out, hopefully for Andrew's wedding in the summer, hopefully I'll be able to go to Russian River, which has like been on was on my list back then, right? Pliny was like the shit, like right. That was like the
Yeah.
beer to get, right? I remember Heady Topper. I had that a couple years ago for the first time. Mark Capitan actually um, sent me out a 4 pack once, and then like whenever I go to Saratoga, he brings that and Focal Banger. He'll bring like eight of each, and it's just nice to have, even if it is like 90 degrees in Saratoga and muggy, right? Like I was like, all right, we'll still drink these, um, but yeah, like there's still some regionality with some of the big stuff. What's the big one? Not I know there's Treehouse, but what's the other Hill Farmstead, right? That's
Oh,
the other one.
Farmstead
That's like
up in Vermont, which I've been to, which is worth the hype. And they actually ship to a few locations, but not by me for whatever. They'll ship past me, but not to me for state laws and whatnot. So yeah, and those are breweries that do kind of couple different things, right? Hill Farmstead makes a really good IPA, but they also make a really good, saisons and wild
yeah,
beers and whatnot. And same with Russian River, right? Like Russian River, I love them for their um, I forget, like their American wilds and their,
yeah,
Belgians and whatnot, right? Like supplication, beatification, right? Stuff like that that probably sits on the shelf, but everyone knows them for, um, Pliny and whatnot. And it's funny because I'm like, yeah, Pliny's fine, but I'd rather have these things that no one really cares about.
yeah. I mean,
But
Goose
yeah, that's the
Island
kind
used
of
to.
things that are go away, right? I mean, those are the things that really no one's buying anymore, and that's kind of the sad part. I think for me is some of the styles that I would normally otherwise have are kind of fading because everything just turned into an IPA. So
Yeah, that is wild, right? And like there's a brewery out here called Hot Butcher, and they're like the hotness, right? They finally got a location. They used to contract or Gypsy Brew, right? So they used to Gypsy Brew out of this place about 30 minutes out away from me, and they took over Half Acres old space, um, and they used to be like, and this is recently. This is like 3, 4, well, I was gonna say COVID years, which was like 2 years ago, but no, COVID was like 5 years ago at this or, yeah, 5 years ago almost at this point. So 4 or 5 years ago, you had to get there on delivery day in order to get it, otherwise you couldn't get it. And, now, like, they now at least at um like bottle shops and liquor stores I go to, that they usually have their own section for them,
yeah,
but usually they have like the last like 5 or 6 releases, right? So which is like the last 2 or 3 weeks worth of deliveries because they usually release like 2 or 3 beers a week, and it's just a rotating amount, right? They don't have anything that's out there all the time, but everything is an IPA, pale ale, double IPA, like that kind of stuff. It can get kind of repetitive. My wife does not get sick of it. Like she's like, give me all the hops, like give me all. um, I the other day I actually I don't remember the last time I bought this beer, but I was looking for something that was like kind of like easy to drink, but wasn't like Miller High Life or Coors or anything like or Modelo. I picked up a 15 pack of Blue Moon. When's the last time you had a Blue Moon?
more recent than you'd think, but yeah, that same.
It was still
Probably for the
nice.
same exact reason that you had
It's still
it.
nice.
Though.
It's just fine.
It's
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 just
good.
perfectly fine. Um,
That's one of the first beers I had, right? And that's like got me kind of into craft beer. Was like, okay, like this is different. I like this.
yeah,
So
I'm gonna have to put a note here for our like fervent Hong Kong listeners, like, hey, maybe skip the first 15 minutes if you want to talk about craft beer, because I mean we always every I feel like once a month we get off on a craft beer tangent, but no, all that being said is I remember Goose Island used to make or they still make it, I think, is a beer called Matilda, which was like it's just a nice Belgian style ale. It's
yep.
got a little tinge of like I think it's got a little tinge of Brett on it, so it's a little sour on the end, not a lot, just a little bit. and it was just like a nice like, and they used to make all kinds of these like um
I
these
love their
Belgian beers and
bombers,
stuff.
like, all
Yeah,
their bombers and whatnot. Those were actually really, really good beers, and yeah, I miss those, but, I mean,
yeah.
probably have some sitting around somewhere maybe, but
Probably. I have I don't know if you remember this, but or I don't even know if Trader Joe's was out by you, but
yeah,
Trader Joe's used to get Unibrow, who
yeah,
makes La Fin du Monde.
in the Monde and all them, yeah.
They used to contract brew a Belgian beer for them, like and then they called it like a vintage ale.
Hmm,
And I got like a 4 or 5 year vertical of them from like 8 years ago, 10 years ago, or something. So I found them, and I keep telling my wife, like, we should probably put these in the fridge and like have these at some point. Um, I also like my buddy sent me a bunch of Bourbon County to complete my vertical, so I think I'm going back like 9 years right now at this point. So I might just buy you a plane ticket and tell you to come out and help me out with that, because
That's
that's just
fun,
going to be
honestly,
that's going to be an undertaking. But there's another undertaking that we should probably get to here is this late pick three here, and we're gonna start it with the Hong Kong special here, right? 1600 meter, 1 turn mile, the red packet handicap. We're gonna be in class three here, and you know when I first looked at this race, the number two Silvery Breeze looked to me to be kind of the standout. Looked to be lightly raced horse, gets Zach, won on debut, and at least on the figures I looked at, seemed to be improving every time. But I don't know. I get that Zach's aboard now, but this is a horse that won on the rail and kind of drew outside the last two times and ran well. Don't get me wrong, ran very well, but came up a little short. And now we're coming fourth time. And not to read too much into it, this is a horse that on debut was 70 to 1, right? So it wasn't a highly thought of horse. So I don't know. Maybe this is like a if you didn't go to the wedding, don't go to the funeral type thing. I get Zach's aboard, but drawn in the 12th post again. I got B with a question mark written down for this horse. Um, because I don't know. I mean, this horse immediately got bet down to 11 to 1, 12 to 1 with Karis Teat in the board. I mean, if people see Zach at a board, that's probably getting halved. You're probably getting 4 or 5 to 1 on this horse, I'm guessing. And although the figures look like they're improving, I mean, still drawn kind of out in the parking lot. Maybe it's going to be a little too much for him to kind of overcome. We'll see we'll see what happens. How I'm feeling. This is going to be more art than science, I think, on whether or not I include this horse. But I was skeptical because I have a feeling this is going to be a short price horse and might be a little over bet because Zach's aboard. Um, so I think my top picks end up being the number 5, Skyheart, and you get Hugh Bowman aboard here. You've had a couple of different jocks aboard. You got 2 wins for this horse, but um, this is a horse that's got 7 starts here in Hong Kong, and this seems to be more like I don't want to say prototypical, but this is a horse that's kind of like just I don't know, it has been kind of like building up to this, right? They started him at the shorter distances, moved up to 1200, moved up to 1400, and now they're going up to the mile, right? And picked up 2 wins on the way, right? So it wasn't no slouch there. I mean, was in races and was leading a horse like Pacha Theta, right? Who's a nice horse. Um, and last time out, maybe it was just in a little bit too tough a company here, but gets Hugh Bowman aboard, is kind of a tactical type, right? Can be on the lead, has closed. I think probably does his best running on the lead. And in this race, I think there's a good shot with the decent draw that he's got that maybe he does get the lead or is at least in that first pack. Um, and I think he might be a little pretty tough to beat here. Like I said, I'd like to see Hugh Bowman get aboard. And he's got 2 wins in the 7 starts here at Hong Kong to start his career. So, and like I said, I think this is the one that they've been trying to get to this mile distance, but they kind of want to take it take it slowly. So I like the progression. I don't mind the fact that last time out went a mile and you know ran okay, ran fourth. So really really like this one. Think this one's going to get the lead, and we'll see if he can keep on um, and win. So I like Skyheart. There's my top pick. Other horse I'm going to use, and this is kind of a Matt special. But I'm curious if this is going to be kind of bet down a ton because this is a horse that's been the favorite the last three times out, but is coming up in class, is going to be a low weight, right? Is only going to be carrying what 117 pounds, um, and is drawn in the two posts, drawn basically perfectly, and that's the 13 Legend St. Paul's. Um, so I I'm guessing that people are going to see the great form. They're going to see the low weight. But remember, last time you had Zach aboard when the horse won. So maybe Zach getting off, maybe that scares some people to move up in class. Interested to see what kind of price we get here. But I mean, this is the type of horse I think that you're going to want to make sure you have on your tickets. Just everything going for this horse. Low weight, good draw, and I mean, this horse is just in as about as good of a form as you can possibly be in. So 13, Legend St. Paul's. I have that one as a B. Like I said, my top pick is going to be the 5 Skyheart, and we'll do a little wait and see on the 2 Silvery Breeze. Might make my tickets, but we'll kind of see how the night's going. But where did you land, Matt?
Yeah, I thought kind of similar on Silvery Breeze, right? And I think I will end up still using it as a B just in case. But part of what I saw last out was look, you had that horse closing. It obviously had a pretty bad draw. It was closing into a slow pace. So, okay, a lot going for it. And you get Zach, which is obviously a huge benefit. I think the one thing that scared me off was the horse that actually won that race broke from the 14 post and kind of had a very similar running line to Silvery Breeze, right? You had a horse breaking from outside who, was sitting 11th, was sitting 13th at, second to last call, and then it ends up winning. Whereas Silvery Breeze was sitting 12th, second to last call, and finished fifth from an inside draw. So, to me, it suggests okay, the race shape should have been there for Silvery Breeze, and it really wasn't, or it couldn't follow through with it. So that's kind of a little bit of a concern for me, and I do think that horse will be a little bit overbet, but I think Zach is always overbet. That said, I mean, I don't really know what else to go into in this race. There wasn't really anything that totally stood out to me that I said, "Oh wow, I really think these are world beaters." Right? This isn't a hugely like this isn't the strongest of fields. My eyes kind of went a couple places. I went to the 8 packing turbine. I do think, like anything, I think fourth up to me is an angle that's always worth betting. I do like Barcelona getting up. I don't think he rides here like he rode at IJC by any means, but obviously if you remember he lit it up that day. So hey, maybe he's still got some in the tank. I This is right where I was gonna say at Zenny to me is not the best jock on speed, and so I'm willing to toss that last race where you see him breaking from a pretty far outside post and kind of having to sprint hard early, run wide, and then it doesn't really concern me that the horse finished out the back. He was way against the track that day too. Like I track kind of things like okay, what was the average winning call that day? So like second call, where was the average horse position that ended up winning that day? And here it was eighth, which is about as high as I've ever seen it. So, to me, speed was incredibly bad that day. Um, and hey, you drop a pound, you move in from the 11 post back to the 4 post, and you get a jock upgrade. Those are all things that kind of point to somewhere I want to use. So I'll definitely use the 8 packing turbine. I do think there's a fair amount of speed signed on. I think that's why I probably didn't use a horse like Legend St. Paul's, just because I thought that was a pretty slow pace it finally ended up winning on last time, but now it has to move up in class and navigate kind of that same, trip. And it's hard when you're winning on a soft lead in class 4 and expecting the same trip in class 3. It just tends to not work out that way. A couple other places I went to the 9 Blessed Nation. I think this horse did look kind of like a winner last out in the stretch, for at least a few feet. What really did him in was the ride. He kind of got trapped 4 wide going into the turn, and especially on like the widest rails that day, just had too much to overcome against the closers. So, if he gets a better trip this time, I do think that horse has enough there to win. The problem with that is Last time he was drawn in the 9 post, he's got the 9 post. Last time he was running at 122, he's at 122. Last time he had Luke Ferraris aboard, he's got Luke Ferraris aboard. So am I guaranteeing you a better trip this time? No. He could
Hmm.
probably run the same exact race because realistically, on paper, it looks like the same exact race again. But hopefully, Luke Ferraris can pilot this horse not 4 wide around the entire turn, um, and maybe show something a little bit better. So I do think I'll use Blessed Nation as an A as well. And the only other horse that I really kind of want is the 3 Embraces. I kind of fall into the trap usually of saying, hey, horses that look slow on paper, that keep winning races, I really don't want those, right? I want to fade those because they're going to eventually come back to earth, right? They keep moving too much in weight. But, you know, this horse is obviously moving forward. And I was against last time because I thought the class jump was too much and it still won. So nothing tells me that this horse can't win again, right? I think, you have a little bit worse draw. Obviously, you're picking up weight. Obviously, this is a little bit more competitive a field, but I gotten burned too many times tossing these horses entirely to not use this horse. So I'm skeptical, but I do think I still want to include the 3 just because if it runs to kind of the form that it looks like it had on some of those races, it's still probably pretty competitive in this field. So I'll be 8 and a 9 as A's, the 3 is a B, probably the 2 is a B as well, just so I don't get zacked in the first leg.
Hmm. Yeah, honestly, I thought this was probably the race I liked the Zach Mount the least. So I had him as a B in here, but I think I used in the other races. Race 10 here, the UE handicap, 1200 meters. We got class 3 racing once again. Matt, where did you land?
This is a weird race to me because I feel like every horse that I like kind of got screwed on draws and has been getting screwed on draws a lot. Like a horse like King Miles, right? I keep thinking, hey, that horse hasn't run that bad just because when you look, okay, first and second up, it was against really good fields. It shortened up. It was in the 12 post. It lengthened out. It was in the 13 post and had Alex Pouchin. And now the problem is it's still back in the 12 post, right? So it's like, okay, well, what do you do with this horse? Like it looks kind of okay, but maybe it's going the wrong way on form. Maybe it's not. You can't really tell. I guess my one argument for King Miles in here is I think the race sets up. I do think there's a lot of speed in here. And King Miles kind of looks like the only horse that's ever passed anyone else in this race. So I think he can work out a trip. And I do think, just from a class perspective, he might just be a better horse. I do like him shortening back up. I don't think the mile was what he wants to do. Is 1200 what he wants to do? TBD. Kind of a weird horse. And I don't know. I mean, again, maybe this kind of goes sideways on me, but I do think I want to use King Miles as an A. The other horse that stood out to me was all the way down. And you mentioned a Matt horse. I think this is probably the quintessential Matt horse. Is the 14 Off Road Master.
Mhm.
Weird running line, right? They ran this horse first up on turf, ran really well. Um, you know, ran fourth, had a couple horses in that race, came back to win next out. Then they moved it to dirt. Obviously, the horse won on dirt, so it's hard to say that was a weird move. Kept running it on dirt, and okay, ran iffy last time, but it's weird to then move back to turf. I do think there were races that this horse could have slotted into. I don't know if it just didn't get into those races. I don't know if this is some gamesmanship to, kind of maneuver it back down to class 4, or maybe this horse wants turf. But I do think I'm willing to pay to find out because I do think it's been running decent races. And I think that first up race, it ran a really good race against horses who came back to win really well. So I'm willing to kind of pay to find out on Off Road Master, just given good draw, given low weight, given kind of the respectable turf form, at least for the first race, right? It should kind of have hit its stride and, you know, maybe even runs a better race than it did first up on turf. So 4 and the 14 is A's. All these other horses, right? Like um, Lucky 8 that, kind of was sitting at terrible draws and, kind of finally got a good draw and then won last time. And then he moves back up to 13. Aurora Patch, the 12 looks okay, but he's drawn out in 14. I think the other one that I will use is the 8 Lopan Spirit. He's drawn terribly too, but I think I at least like the cut back to 1200. He's hit the board 3 out of 4 at 1200, and All the other races he's been running 1400, 1600, etc. He's 0 for 6. So, hey, maybe this is what that horse wants to do. And so, even though he's breaking from the 11 post, even though he does look like a horse that wants to be towards the lead in a field that does need the lead, at least I have some thoughts like, hey, he's got 2 wins. His 2 wins ever at this distance in this course. He's hit the board one other time at this course. He's moved down in weight a little bit. He's been drawn poorly the past couple races and run okay. Probably have to use that one too. So I'll be the 4 and the 14 as A's and the 8 as a B in here. Um, and yeah, hopefully get through it.
Yeah. I had a bit of a hard time with this race. I ended up on the 11, Sonny the Best. Zach Purton mount, and this is kind of a just the quintessential. Hey, let's put Zach aboard, and all instantly the horse gets better. Right, a horse was finishing 13th, ninth, right? Wasn't really dropping any weight, even with those poor finishes. I mean, was still in class 4, carrying 134, 135 pounds. Um, and then Zach gets aboard, gets a second, and then wins. And now this horse is up in class. You keep Zach. You're literally dropping 14 pounds with Zach aboard. So this isn't going to be one I'm going to get a price on, but I think this is the best horse. Maybe it was just maybe it's just, hey, this is a 1200-meter horse. You got in 4 starts you got a first, a second, a third. So maybe it's just a distance. Maybe it's Zach. I don't know. But yeah, I thought that Sonny the Best made just a ton of sense in here. The only other horse I had marked down as a B is the 3 young superstar here with Angus Chung aboard. And this is a horse that uh, I don't know, I guess a little inconsistent. Um, the one consistent I can say is this horse goes and wants the lead, and it's probably going to get the lead drawn on the rail here. And so if the rail is good, if speed is good, I think Young Superstar is going to be kind of hard to beat in here. Um, you know, 1-4 back, sitting in the 4 post, kind of got an unlucky 14 post draw, came back in and started getting a couple inside draws and ran fine. Um, I mean, last time, honestly, he ran third and lost by a neck, right, with a good draw. So I do think this is a very draw dependent horse. It is going to need to get kind of an easy-ish type of lead, or at least be inside drawn enough. And I think Angus Chung gets it here with Young Superstar. I mean, drawn on the rail, and you're going to get at least a 3 pound allowance here. Is probably one that would probably like to drop a couple pounds, but this one might be stuck here in class 3 for a while. So um I like Young Superstar. I got that as a B, and then the 11 Sunny the Best is my lone A, because I'm just a Zach simp apparently.
I was gonna say, sound the simple arm. Where's the horn?
Where's the horn? I got it right here. There we go. Little
There
Zach
it
simp.
is.
Yeah,
There it is.
I'll have to get the ticker going for that one. But what you didn't like the 11 at all, huh?
I do. Don't get me wrong. I think it has every shot of winning. I just every week, shoot myself in the foot by not betting the favorites. So I'll
Yeah.
hit one ticket a year that'll pay decent just because Zach, forgot how to ride or something like that. But yeah.
All right. Yeah, he just misses the break for no reason. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gotta have a bad week sometime, right? It's like me betting against Saquon. He's gotta not hit 200 yards some week.
Well, hey, we hit the under last week,
We
didn't we?
did. Yeah, only
Yeah.
because they were up so much they benched him. So, it's
Yeah.
game flow.
Yeah, no, I last week was funny. My betting account was empty. I'd emptied it out at some point. Um and
On
so
purpose or, like, by
yeah,
accident?
yeah, no, yeah. No, I had like I don't know. I had a pretty decent week. I think I had hit like a couple hockey parlays or something for a couple $100, and so I took out like just the usual, right? Like I took out like 500 or something, and I
Yeah,
left
just
like a
those.
hundred. I had left $100 in there, and then I played that. And when that ran out, I'm like, all right, I'll reload at some point. And I'd been busy the last couple weekends, so I hadn't been playing much. But last weekend, I'm like, or last week, I wanted to bet the Notre Dame game, and I bet Notre Dame money line because I hate money. And so I log in and I just put $25 on because I'm just going to bet 25 to win on the money line, whatever. Well, I didn't realize I had a deposit bonus. And so they gave me like a 50% deposit bonus in 5 bonus bets. Of course, right? They give you the deposit bonus and it's like up to $100, but I didn't know I had it. So I only put 25, right?
You only
Which
got your
only got me
12.50 or whatever.
12.50, right? Instead of putting 200 in so I get the full 100. And so I had 5 $2.50 bonus bets. And I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do with these? So I just started firing like 6, 7 same game parlays on on both the games, just like trying to get like 15x plus on some of this stuff, right? So I'm just like firing wildly, and like I probably I hit a majority of my legs. It's just they weren't all on the same parlay. So because I was just like firing just random stuff. So um but I think one thing I had in basically every single parlay was it was like Saquon under 142 total yards or something was what I think 142 was the rushing and receiving yards, and I think he only got to like 118 or 120 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, 1400 meters, the Cut Cheong handicap here. We got class 3 racing once again. And yeah, sad to say, I did use the Zach mount here, the 3 packing angel. Um, but I think I probably like it second best to the 9 Another World in this race. Um, Up in class, right? But as you know, as I like to say on my the other on the wrong lead products or shows or whatever you want to call it, class doesn't matter. So in this case, I really don't care if this horse is moving up in class because I feel like this is a horse that improved immediately moving the 7 furlongs to 1400 meters. I mean, just rattled off back to back wins. Didn't do much. I mean, you look at the 1200 meter starts and there's nothing to write home about there. And it's not like the horse dropped in class or lost a bunch of weight or anything off those two races, right? I mean, just basically held the same weight, held the same rating, and all of a sudden just changing the distance and instantly light bulb switched on for this horse. So I'm hoping that light bulb stays on here, gets a good draw once again, and yeah, I just think this is a 1400-meter horse. And we always talk about that unicorn distance, that 7 furlong distance, that kind of tweener distance between the 1 turn mile, which is, like I said, a staple of Hong Kong, and the 6 furlong sprints, the 1200 meters. So this is sometimes, like I said, a weird distance, and sometimes you just have a tweener horse. And I think Another World is one of those tweener horses. So I have that as my top pick. And then yeah, Packing Angel. This is just this is just like a Zach Purton horse, like TM all over, right? Horse that just steadily improves every time, gets going and all of a sudden starts winning and starts moving up the class ladder. And um, Zach's won with this horse out in the 13 post. This is the horse that's going to be coming late. This horse that's got a sub 22-second closing fraction, which is very, very good for the level. And I mean, I'm not going to leave Zach off a payoff leg. I mean, maybe I'm just being too simple there, but I don't know. Packing Angel, I think 4 starts this year, 5 starts at Hong Kong, and just has gotten better and better every start. So 3 Packing Angel is going to be on all my tickets, but I like Another World as my top pick. Matt, where did you land?
So it's funny. I agree with you on Packing Angel. I do think I still want to use it as a B, but it's probably going to be a defensive B if I use it. So I'll probably still bump it up to an A. As you know, I run my own figures and I try and calculate weight and draw and everything. And the shared race last out between Packing Angel and the two Kahalo Angel, because Kahalo Angel's getting Ellis Wong up on the bug, my figures would suggest, hey, Kahalo Angel actually, this race should run slightly faster, right? Should pick up a length on Packing Angel from last time and, get the better. So the value would be on Kahalo Angel and you should play that one instead of Packing Angel. I think this is where you have to kind of throw out figs because to your point, you don't know how fast that horse can actually run. This is a horse that knows how to find the line, and Zach knows how to find the line with this horse. And no matter how fast or slow it looks on paper, horse just knows how to win. The boombox last week to me was a great example of that. Figs would suggest to me, hey, this horse, doesn't have enough moving up in class, picking up too much weight, et cetera, et cetera. And it goes off what 4 to 5 and just absolutely romps because that horse can run faster than it has been, right? It never needed to exert itself. And I think Packing Angel probably fits that bill a little bit better where, yeah, you know, just based on the race it ran last outlook might look a little slow, but you really don't know how much ability that horse has or how much better it's getting kind of race in, race out. So I will use Packing Angel. I don't think you can leave it off your ticket. I won't use Kahalo Angel because, again, I think weight, especially when it comes to some of the jockeys like the bug jocks, lies a little bit on my figs you know, maybe that's just me and I need to adjust stuff, but I'm lazy. So I won't use Kahala Angel. I will use Packing Angel. There were two other horses to me that did stayed out on figs though that I probably want to bet a little bit harder. I think the 10 Davis 12 to me is probably far and away the fastest horse in this field. I don't know if my figs are screwing up, but just on paper, it looks probably a couple lengths faster than any other horse in this field. I think the race last out to me, even though it was on the lead and obviously or at least towards the lead and ran a slow race or a slow pace into a, forward field. Um, I think just the races that it's been running really do stand out, right? I think again, if it runs its race and everybody else kind of runs the last race here, it should win by at least a couple lengths. And so I think that'll kind of be my largest play of the sequence because I do think, hey, I should get value on this horse too. But yeah, I mean, just it seemed pretty versatile, right? It's past horses. It's, won on the lead at 1400. It runs back at 1400 again. No reason to believe it can't continue kind of moving forward, jumping up in class up here. So I'll use that one as an A. The only other horse then that had a competitive fig in here and really kind of came out of nowhere was the 12, the absolute. If you look, right, this horse kind of wasn't doing much up until last season's like summer break, took some time off, came out last time and just kind of ran a huge number out of nowhere, right? So something improved in this horse. And that usually doesn't happen kind of first up in the season, right? I mean, I do like horses on layoffs here, but not kind of seasonal layoffs. I don't know if it was just an injury towards the end of last season that something got fixed or what, but even the trials wouldn't have suggested that this horse could run the race that it did kind of first up at the end of December. That said, hey, who knows how good this horse is now because this is a different horse than you've ever seen run before, right? Toss out any other record that it had kind of running up until that point. This horse, he should run another huge race if if that form holds true. So I think you have to use the absolute. That horse went off 17-1 last time. I have no idea what price you get this time. If you get 17-1 again on the class jump, I would fire huge into this because again, I think back races don't suggest the horse that this ability has right now. If you get less than 10-1, probably not as excited about it because you just don't know. But that's another one that I just think, hey, like you really don't know where this horse is going to go because that was a strong race and who knows what number it's going to run this time. So give me the 10 of the 12 mostly as my A's and then Packing Angel I'll probably use as an A as well. Just given the form, if nothing else.
Cool. And where did you go for your bonus bet or your bet
I
on
went to
that?
race 8. I think it's a cool race. I don't know that I have the most confidence in that race, but, that restricted 4-year-old race, the run of the mile, I love this race, the Hong Kong Classic Mile. I mean, it's where a lot of these horses probably haven't run the distance before, so you're probably trying to estimate, okay, who can get the distance, who's gonna run the best, who's, kind of in the best form, etcetera. And so that's where I went. I went to the horse that I think can get the best distance in here, and that would be the 8, Johannes Brahms. There's a lot of other horses in here that I think have burned me in the past, like Ruby Lot and things like that. I don't know that Ruby Lot can get the full distance. If he runs like he did last time, maybe he definitely can. But to me, Johannes Brahms, I think, ran into a lot of trouble last time. Um, you had Zenny aboard, and kind of like I said in race 9, I think Zenny to Barcelona is a huge shock upgrade. I do think Barcelona might be here just for this horse. Um, and I think again, he could probably get the best race, right? This horse was blocked in the stretch. This horse, really didn't have, run until the last 100 meters or so. And then once it did get that run, was kind of flying through, just didn't have enough to kind of make up the horses that had the clean run in the stretch. So, and then on the gallop out, definitely looked like it was a horse that could get a full mile. So that was impressive to me. Again, I think you do get a little bit of a price because I do think there's some bigger names in here coming off wins. And I think the figs, to me, kind of stand out on here. I do wish JMac was back riding this because I always wish JMac was riding this. But
Hmm.
yeah, give me the 8 Johannes, or the 6 rather, Johannes Brahms. Sorry, I might have said the 8 before. It's a 6. Um, and yeah, I think hopefully he gets some value in here. Hopefully, he can show what he can do against a bunch of horses that I don't think probably want the distance in a restricted field. So
Yeah, I mean, I think you have two questions in the one packing Hermod and the two Ruby lot, right? Like, can these horses get the distance?
yeah,
And I think if they run anything close to their last race, those are both kind of winning efforts. Um, there is another horse in here though that has run a fig. There's actually two horses in here that have run figs. Um, Even faster. One is the 4 Call Me Glorious, has got a pretty big fig, a couple races back. But I'm not really interested in the 4 Call Me Glorious. But the 5 Fast Network was one that I kind of looked at quite a bit. Obviously, Zach rode this horse last time out in that restricted race last time. Now here in the 4-year-old, but what I like to see with this horse is this horse does have a run already at the distance, and so I expect second time up at the distance to hopefully take a step forward. Um, Obviously is got sprinter-ish speed, right? At one, the lone win was going the 5 furlong, the 1,000 meter. Um, well, actually, not the lone win, but the lone win on the PPs. I think this horse got 3 wins lifetime out of 7 starts. But it has run good races even with the adding of distance. And I think it's just one that they're, like I said, they're kind of just training up to this distance. So I thought the 5 Fast Network might be one that kind of can if the horse can run a little bit better than it last time out, I think it's going to be a little bit dangerous in this race. But this was not the race that I had handicapped for my pick because you know me, I like to find slow paces. I like to find speed horses. I like to find, um, basically stuff that uh, Matt has just absolutely trashed. And that's at Zenny on a speed horse. And that's the 11 Circuit Mighty here in race 3. Um, this was actually kind of a tough one to kind of project the pace. And like I said, I'm looking at what the speed map says. I'm looking at what Speed Pro says, and Speed Pro thinks that Circuit Mighty is going to get the lead in this race. Has shown some speed. The problem is that not drawn awful, but is drawn a little bit outside. Right, is drawn in the 8 post. When you kind of look back at the race where he did get the lead, he was drawn in. He was drawn on the rail, but he's also stretching out here. So, I mean, he has run this distance before, but the last couple of races have been at the 7 furlong. So maybe the sprinter stretching out, is going to show a little bit of speed. And I don't know. I think he's got a couple back races that actually fit in here. Um, I guess really like the only other horse that maybe might pressure him for the lead might be the 10 Celtic Times. And that's mostly because he's just got a better draw. But outside of him, I mean, like I said, there's just not a ton of speed in here. So I'm gonna take a shot here with the 11 Circuit Mighty, thinking that maybe we go wire to wire. Maybe Edzeni just wants to prove Matt wrong, and decide that he knows how to rate or ride a speed horse. So race 3, I'll go with the 11 Circuit Mighty.
In there, I kind of think the 8 full sends, but that's a really bad horse. So
Hey, your guess is as good as mine at this point, right? Um, but yeah, no, I think it's going to be a fun card. Unfortunately, with it being on Thursday night, there's probably about zero chance that I get to watch any of it. So um, I'll get a couple bets in before I and like normally even like on Friday or Saturday nights, I'll at least watch the first couple. Um, but yeah, this one's going to be tough for us. But no, this was fun. I think it's going to be a fun card, and hopefully we make some money. But that's going to do it for us here, and you've got to be Sha Tin me. Obviously, check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I think it's at on the wrong lead on Blue Sky. I am at Cherry Drink. Matt is at Slow and Steady. Of course, he will have his entire card picks posted, so you can ridicule or converse or just see who retweets it, because apparently people like seeing people pick stuff for Hong Kong. So maybe at some point I will join him. But yeah, other than that, thank you for enjoying our beer talk, and let's make some money, guys.
good luck, everybody.